Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 66 of the Karen Knits podcast. My name is Karen, and I'm coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania, where I live, where I work, where I knit, and where I get into other crafty shenanigans. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. If you're a new viewer, thank you so much for coming by to check me out. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back for another episode to see what I've been up to. I'm so happy to have everyone here. Today is Saturday, May the 29th, 2021. I can't believe we're almost done May already. Time is just flying past. It's not that nice out today. We had quite a bit of rain last night, and it's overcast. It's been raining off and on this morning. The rain has settled down for now, and it's cool. It's only about, I think when I looked earlier this morning, it was 48 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't think it's got much over 50 already by mid-afternoon. It's not a warm day out. As you can see, I'm actually I've got longer sleeves on already. It's a little bit cooler out, but anyway, I can't do anything about the weather. I just go along with what we get. But it's cooler. I'm not complaining about the heat. So there's that. So this week I've got some knitting done, some fair bit of knitting done. I have a finished object to show you. I have some progress on an ongoing whip that I have, and I have a new cast on to show you. So we'll start off with and I'll apologize ahead of time. You guys have been hearing the saga of my crappy teeth. On Wednesday, I was eating a piece of chocolate. It was warm. The chocolate wasn't at all cold or hard. It was just soft chocolate. One of my crowns came out. So I was able to get into the dentist Thursday afternoon for him to have a quick look at it. They're able to put the crown back in place, but they might have to do a bit of a build-up on what's left of the tooth. They couldn't do it quickly. It wasn't like a 10-15 minute job that he could just squeeze me in between appointments before a holiday weekend. So I have an appointment in 2 weeks to go back, and they'll freeze it a bit. They'll fix up the base where the tooth is meant to do a bit of a build-up, and they'll cement the old crown back into place again. So needless to say, I have a spot it's on the first big molar on the top on this side, and so there's a spot where my tongue keeps kind of trying to get in, like the side of my tongue is trying to get into that little bit of a spot that normally has a tooth there, and there's a bit of a rough edge on the post of the tooth that's there that my tongue keeps bumping into, and it doesn't really hurt, but it's a little bit uncomfortable. There's no pain in the tooth. That doesn't hurt at all, thankfully. But there's some discomfort on my tongue. So every once in a while I'll be talking and I'll kind of pause. You might notice that a bit during the episode because there is a little bit of a rough patch on there, and it is irritating my tongue a little bit while I'm talking. But they did recommend I get orthodontic wax to put on there. I haven't had a chance to get that. At this rate, I probably won't get around to getting any. We'll see if it continues to bother me. But anyway, so that's one of my little side stories of my teeth, I tell you. I tease my mom and thank her for her bad teeth genetics that she passed on to me. Didn't get my dad's good teeth, got my mom's not so good teeth genetics. What are you gonna do? Oh well. So anyway, after all of that, let's take a look at my finished object from this past week. They're done. My little etude socks by Kawa Coffee are done. These were the socks from Sock Madness 15, round 4. And this round of Sock Madness finished, and unfortunately I wasn't able to knit them fast enough to manage to qualify and move on as a competitor into round 5. So these socks knocked me out. As you might remember from last week, I had one sock was done. The other sock I was part way through. I was probably about, I think I was a third to halfway through the gusset decreases. So I was at about, probably about this point when I last showed you. I had one complete sock and the second one up to roughly here. So I finished off the rest of the foot and the toe, and I have tucked in all of the tails. And let me tell you, there are a boatload of tails on this pair of socks. Each of these colors was a separate strand of yarn. So there were 8 strands of green, 8 strands of blue on each sock. And each one you knit down, so there were 16 ends at the top plus 17 for the white yarn. And then you broke about almost half of, or just over half, no, just under half of the extra strands you broke off at the heel, and then those ends had to be tucked in, and then half plus 1 of the colors continued on down the foot, and then those broke off at the toe and got tucked back in. So you ended up with a total of 34 ends per sock times 2. So 68 tails had to be tucked in. And on my socks, there was a problem with the white yarn I had. And just to tell you, drop about the yarn, I used a bare yarn for the white, for the main color, and the blue and the green were 2 yarns that I had dyed myself. The green was yarn I used in the round 1 socks. Blue was the yarn, one of the yarns I used in the round 3 socks, the blue. I had blue and orange in those. So I thought it was fun that I was able to use these colors again in another sock. But with the white yarn, what happened was there was a break in the yarn somewhere along the line. So I had 2 extra ends. And then I found 2 more spots in that skein of yarn that got really thin. So I snipped the thin spot out and added 4 more ends. So I ended up with the 68 ends plus 6 more. So I ended up with a lot of ends. So 74 ends altogether. Should have been 68. I ended up with 74. And I finished these on, I think I finished them on Monday or Tuesday. Can't remember which day I finished them on, Monday or Tuesday. This past week. The next day, I think I finished them on Monday, and then Tuesday I had a workshop, a work-related workshop online to sit and watch. I didn't have to take notes. I didn't have to participate in any way other than just listen to what they were talking about. So I sat there for that hour and a half. I think it was an hour and a half webinar, and I wove in ends. I just spent the whole time weaving in all of the ends for this, and got them done over that hour and a half. I can't remember how long it was, hour and 15 minutes, whatever. I got all the ends woven in. Now, a lot of people really don't like weaving in ends. I actually don't mind it. I don't like weaving ends in certain kinds of crochet because I find it's more of a challenge, but to weave in ends in a knitting project, if it's a lot of stockinette, I don't know, I just find it, easy to do. It almost puts me into like a Zen space where I'm perfectly happy tucking in tails. 74 of them. Actually, I just sat down, watched a webinar and listened on a webinar, work-related thing, and wove in ends, and it was done. So, little etudes, completely done. Knocked me out of the competition. I'm no longer actively competing in Sock Madness this year, but I have another pair of socks, so that's a good thing. So that's my finished object for this past week. Just drinking some Coke Zero. I don't feel for more tea today, so I need a little whistle wetter. I also have a ongoing whip that I have on the go that I've been working on off and on for the past several months since January came around, or January started. And these are my Advent mittens. Let me get the name right. Mitten Garland Advent Calendar by Kathy Lewinsky. And it's a series of 24 miniature mittens. And I'm working on these with a group of friends of mine online. And we have a rhythm set up and a timeline set up where we knit 5 rows each day through these socks. And that way, when we get to the beginning of December, we will have all 24 mittens done. So I'm behind schedule again. Sock Madness keeps bumping me behind schedule. But I started mitten 11 over the past few days, and I've made a little bit of progress on it. Started about halfway through the thumb gusset increases, but it's coming along nicely. So this is mitten number 11. This mitten should have been finished yesterday, or Thursday, I should say, but it's not. I'll get back. I'll continue working on it. It will get completed in the next little while, in the next week or so. But like I say, there's no huge hurry. I'll probably spend some time in the next few weeks playing catch up and working on this one and subsequent little mittens. So that's my progress on my Advent miniature mittens. So slowly but surely working my way through them. I'm almost at the point where I'm halfway done through all of it. So I said I have several conferences or virtual conferences coming up this summer. I have quite a few of them running through June. So I am going to have a goodly amount of time where I'm just going to be watching videos or Zoom conference sessions online. And aside from taking the odd notes down, if I have questions I want to ask the presenter, I will have a lot of time to knit my way through the month. So I will likely be catching up on those and working on other knitting projects as well. I did spend a little bit of time working on Damejakka Loppa this week, but I only did about 5 or 8 rounds on one of the sleeves. So it's not really enough to get it all pulled out of its project bag to pull out and show you. I'll show you that again probably next week or the week after, when I've got a little bit more progress and a little bit more to show you than maybe an inch. I've really slowed down on working on that, mainly because I don't quite have the incentive to work on that wholeheartedly now that it's getting warm out, except for today. And I won't be likely able to wear it much until the fall. So depending, I'm less motivated to work on it right now. So I'll get back. I will get back to it soon enough. But I'll show you the progress on that in another episode. My new cast on, even though I've been eliminated from actively competing in Sock Madness, I still want to keep working on Sock Madness socks. I knew that the 4th round was going to be finishing. The time for that round was going to be done yesterday afternoon. I think around 1:30 or so was the deadline for round 4 for those that were competing to get on a team to be finished by that particular point. So I was wondering when the next pattern was going to come out. I was kind of hoping it would come out in time for the weekend, because in the US right now we have a long weekend. A lot of people are off work on Monday. So I was kind of hoping the pattern would come out, and kind of had a hunch that it might come out on Friday evening or Saturday morning, so that a lot of people might have this extra time to work on the socks. And it did. The specs came out about supper time last night, about 5 or 5:30 last night. And I thought, well, I'll wait and see until the pattern comes out whether I want to cast on or if I'll just kind of peter out of Sock Madness for the year. The pattern came out, I went to bed early-ish for me in recent time. I've decided to go to bed I think it was about 10 o'clock last night. The pattern dropped about between 10:30 and 11. It was almost 11 o'clock at night. So I had already shut down the computer. I didn't know the pattern had come out until I got up this morning. Looked at the pattern. I like it. It's a really pretty pattern. And I'm in. I might do some modifications to it. I don't know. I'll see. But it's a really pretty pattern. It's toe up. All of the patterns, the regular competition patterns, up until now have been top down, which is my preferred method for knitting socks. And only because the very first pair of socks that I happened to knit were top down. And I just seem to get into a rhythm of doing top down socks. And I've made numerous toe up socks, but I just haven't made near as many toe up as top down. So the top down is my kind of preferred way of making socks, but that's fine. So these are toe up. It uses a different way of casting on the toe than I've done before. I don't think I've done this type before. And it uses a sweet tomato heel, or they call it a padded sweet tomato heel. I think I've only done the sweet tomato heel once, and I've never done a padded one. So that's a new technique for me. And then once you finish the sock, then you embroider some beads into place and make these little flower designs on the leg. And they're really cute. And I I'm not big on embroidery. I love counted cross stitch, but embroidery, it's not my favorite crafty endeavor. So there are little embroidered flowers on there where you will use 2 colors of yarn and embroider the flowers with the yarn plus some beading on there. So I was reading through the different threads on Ravelry, and somebody in one of the chat threads commented and said, perfect, now I have a use for those extra strands from the round 4 socks. I thought, oh, that's excellent, because there is the round 4 socks, you measured out a fairly long strand of yarn for each of the columns of color, and you end up with a fair bit of, I don't want to call it wasted yarn, but excess yarn that was snipped off. I have it set aside that I was going to use it for making a little stuffed critter of some sort, a knit stuffed critter of some sort. But when they suggested that, I thought, oh, that's a good idea. So my flowers on this current pair of socks, which I will eventually tell you the name of it, things. But what my plan is now is to use the blue and green from round 1 and round 3 socks, plus, or the qualifying round, sorry, not round 1, the qualifying round plus round 3 socks, the blue and greens from those 2 rounds that I also used in round 4, I'm going to pull that in to use in round 5 as well. So the green will be the embroidered for the little leaves on the flowers, and then the blue will be for the little rose petals that you make. So I think that's going to work out really cool. And I'll finally tell you now. The pattern is called Sweet Rose Socks, and it's by Atelier. I'm hoping that the next round of socks is designed by somebody with a name like Jane Smith. I've been having trouble pronouncing I think almost every single round. I've butchered the designer's name. I'm sorry. But these are Atelier Midsummer's Eve is the designer. I will have put that name down below already, so you can take a look at the pattern. But they look like they're going to be really pretty. So I kicked up a skein of bare yarn this morning, and I thought that'll be a nice backdrop. The pattern includes a bit of lace and faux cable designs along the front of the sock, the instep, and up the legs. So I'm going to use the bare yarn. It'll be the same combination of colors as my little etudes. I will have the sock will be in white with the leaves and the rose in the green and then the blue. So it'll tie in and it'll coordinate nicely with that. So I balled or caked up the yarn, and I have a toe. I've started the little toe on here, and that's as far as I have got. And what the plan is I'm going to do these 2 at a time in tandem. So I've knit the first toe. Once I'm done filming and editing here, I'm going to go and start from, this is coming from the middle, and then I'll take the strand from the outside of the skein, or the bulk cake of yarn, and I'll cast on the toe for the second sock. So then I'll have 2 toes, then I'll do the foot on both socks, then I'll do the first one, then the second one, then I will do the heel, or the heel turn, then the heel, and then move up the leg. So I'll just go back and forth from sock 1 to sock 2. And my goal is to see if I can finish this pair of socks during this competition round. And what they do with Sock Madness is, as the rounds progress, the time window we have shortens a little bit. So for the first 4 rounds, it was set so that each round would end at the end of 2 weeks from when the pattern came out. There was a 2-week or 14-day time frame. So we either had the full 2 weeks or until all of the teams, all 26 teams, were full. So if all 26 teams, if the teams had all filled up before the 2-week window came, then that round would end sooner. Or you had the full 2 weeks, whichever came first. And now for round 5, we have 10 days, not 14. We only have 10 days to finish the socks, or until all 26 teams have a full allotment. And with this round, it will be the fastest 10 people on each team that will advance to the next round, to round 6. So it's getting closer to the end of the whole thing. There's still 3 rounds to go, round 5, then round 6 and 7. In round 6, it'll be the fastest person on each team that will advance to the final, where the fastest 3 people of all of them will have our first place, second place, and third place. So we shall see. I'm kind of thinking I might continue knitting all the way through and try to keep up with round 5, 6, and 7. It'll be the first year I have knit. Right now, my attempt is going to be for my first year to complete each of the pair of socks in the competition. So right now we had 3 warm-up patterns. I made one of those. I didn't make the other 2. I've made the qualifier, then round 1, 2, 3, and 4 are complete, and now I've started round 5. So if I'm able to finish round 5 before round 6 starts, I'm gonna try, unless the round 6 pattern is completely diabolical, which is possible. I think I'm going to try to make all 7 pair, rounds 1 through 7, plus the qualifier, and I also have one of the bonus, the warm-up patterns done. So that's my rough plan. Stick around, see if I manage that. But right now my goal is that I am going to set myself the goal to try to complete my round 5 socks within 10 days. I'm curious to see if I could actually finish them in the top 10. Even though I can't advance to the next round, I wasn't one of the top 20 this round or this past round, so it doesn't matter when I finish. But I'm curious to see how fast I can get them done compared to those on my team that are still competing. We shall see. But so that's where I am with those. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. I'm really curious. They're really pretty, and I'm really curious to keep working on them. I'll get going on the second toe. As I said, I'll get going on the second toe after I'm done talking to you today, and I'll see how much I can get done this evening on them. We don't have anything major planned tonight. The hubby's going to pick up some supper on his way home from work this afternoon. There's just across the street from us is a food truck that sells barbecue. That's so good. So we are going to get, my hubby's going to pick up a container of, they do pulled pork nachos. Oh, they're so good. Oh, they're so good. So he's going to get a takeout container of the pulled pork nachos. So they just have like the chips. They put melted cheese on it. Then they put the pulled pork on there and some barbecue sauce. So good. So, and one container is enough for 2 people. So we'll get one of those, split it. He has some leftover salad from last night, so he's going to have that. And I asked him to also pick up a thing of a side dish of the mac and cheese. So I'll have pulled pork nachos and mac and cheese for supper. Hubby will have his salad with the nachos and maybe some of the mac. He's not a huge mac and cheese fan. I am. So that's the plan for supper. And then we'll just watch a movie this evening, and I'm going to happily work on my little roses. No, sweet roses, not little roses. My sweet rose socks. So that's about it. I took it easy the last part of the week. I haven't got as much knitting done as I'd kind of hoped to do. But after that last round, working on my little etude socks, my hands were getting sore. And they really needed to be rested. I was getting some pains in the side of my thumb. And I've also noticed on my left hand that I am starting to develop a trigger finger on this one. That especially when I wake up in the middle of the night, and it's locking a bit right now, but during the middle of the night it'll wake me up where I will wake up and my hand is, I've got my hand in a fist, and I'll wake up and this one's stuck, and then it'll just kind of like pop back up into place. So I do need to take it easy a little bit so this doesn't get too much worse. I'm hoping that if I rest it a bit, it'll relax and it won't progress to where I need to have surgery on it. Hopefully it'll kind of settle again. So I did take a few days. So that's why this past week, after I finished my little etude socks, I didn't do a lot. I only did, like I say, a handful of rounds on my Damejakka Loppa, and I only did a little bit on the Advent mitten. And I would knit around and then just kind of like sit there and just let my hands just do nothing. We were away for a couple of days. My husband had a meeting with a bunch of his, I don't want to say co-workers, colleagues were through work, and they had a meeting in a town not too far from us. It's about an hour and 30-minute drive from our place. So I thought, let's just do a little overnight. So we went on Thursday. We left Thursday afternoon. Went out for supper. Spent the night in a hotel. Went out the next morning, and he had his meeting, and I just sat in the car with a paperback and read, and I enjoyed it. I brought Damejakka Loppa with me, but I didn't work on it at all. It just got a trip with us out of town, and it sat in the project bag the whole time. I didn't even touch it other to bring it into the hotel room and then back out to the car and back home. But I rested my hands, which they needed. They needed resting. So I don't think there's anything else I wanted to tell you about. I think that's about all. I'll go and get the editing done on this, and then I'm going to get back to working on my sweet roses while the video is uploading. And I'll work on it more this evening and then tomorrow and so on and so on. So stay tuned for a week and see if I've got them done. or how close to done they are by next Saturday. And my hope is that once Sock Madness is done, or I've opted out completely, I'm going to get going on my little two-tone sort of shorty socks with all those yarns that I showed you last week. I haven't started with those yet, but I kind of suspected I'd be continuing on with working on the Sock Madness socks for a little bit longer, and I didn't want to add another whip to my pile. So I will be getting started on those in the next, probably within a month. They'll be fun. They will also be a fun thing to work on while I'm sitting through my virtual conferences for the next several weeks. So I don't have anything conference-wise. I don't think I have anything this week. This week now coming up. The following week, yes. Starting on the 6th, 7th, whatever day that Monday is. They start up. That week is busy. I'm watching virtual conference stuff most of the day, every day that week, and the next week, and the next week. So I will be tied up with a lot of hours parked in front of the computer, watching conference sessions and knitting. I will get a lot of knitting done over the 3 or 5 weeks worth of conference stuff that I have coming up this summer. So stay tuned, see what all I managed to work on and knit on through the summer while those are going on. So I'm really starting to ramble now. Sorry. I will let you get going, and I will see you again next week. Take care, everyone. Bye.